Hi, welcome to Ms. Richardson's U.S. History 5-Minute Lectures. This is U.S. Notes 1.10, Progressives and Muckrakers. It includes information that's aligned with the second section of your study guide. Remember that you're going to control the lecture. Pause when you need, write things down, and rewatch as often as you will need. Always use your study guide. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to start today with some definitions for you. Some of these are words I've already used in earlier notes or class. Some are going to be new, but all are going to be important for understanding the era. First of all, progressives. I've mentioned this is the progressive era. The root here is progress. These are individuals who believed America needed to progress. They worked for positive solutions to the problems they saw in society. Now today, some of these are going to seem positive and some won't, but at the time, all were working to help society. Next, we have a subgroup of progressives called muckrakers. They're actually writers and journalists who alerted the public to wrongdoings. So Jacob Riis, Upton Sinclair, those are a couple of them, and there were more I'll tell you about later. But many of them tried to spread the word, and then the progressives would try to fix the issue. The next definition that you'll need to know in these notes is social gospel. This was a Christian-based movement that desired to better the lives of the urban poor. These individuals and groups promoted charity and helped the less fortunate. Some of the members believed in social Darwinism, others just believed it was the right thing to do. Now remember, there were many social issues at the time, especially in the cities. Living conditions, child labor, working conditions, alcohol abuse, poverty, lack of education. The list goes on of issues that progressives became concerned with and attempted to fix. I'm just going to tell you about a few of the issues and the ways they were addressed. One of the many issues that Americans were concerned about was immigration. They saw immigration as the root of many of the other issues in the cities. Poverty, working issues, radical politics, those are just a few. One group, the nativists, believed that America should be kept for the Native Americans. Now, the nativists were not actually Native American Indians. They were white, Protestant, English-speaking Americans of Northern European descent. They really just wanted America to be full of people like them. Nativists did have some success in their fight to stop immigration. They really focused on areas of the world where a group known as new immigrants was coming from. These included areas like Eastern Europe and Asia. The people there were Catholic or other different religions. They looked different, spoke a different language, and even often used a different alphabet or had different clothing and customs. And basically, they just scared the nativists. To deal with the new immigrants, nativists pushed to pass laws and regulations to keep the people out of the U.S. They created quotas for certain countries, allowing only a specific number of immigrants in from that country each year. The most strict was the Chinese Exclusion Act, which severely limited immigration from China. While there were some successes for this group, immigrants still poured in from around the globe, meaning that ultimately they were unsuccessful in keeping the new immigrants out of America. Other individuals focused on social gospel and helping these new immigrants once they were in the U.S. These groups and individuals had different ways of helping the immigrants, but the prevalent idea at the time was that immigrants should assimilate or adapt to American life. In other words, they should become American. So how did people do this? Well, one way was the creation of settlement houses, such as Jane Addams' Hull House. These houses were created to help immigrants with cheap, safe housing, childcare, learning English, and learning American customs and dress. Once a family had assimilated and was able to survive on their own, they moved out of the house and another family would take their place. Hull House and other settlement houses were not just housing one family at a time, but held several, all working towards assimilating in America. Another place that worked to engage immigrants in American life was the YMCA. The YMCA was created by Christians, hence the name Young Men's Christian Association, to welcome new immigrants and give them a community. These buildings specifically offered safe housing for immigrants, English classes, and other supports. Some groups even created specific YMCAs for Black Americans, because remember, segregation was still legal during the time. Progressives did not just fight for immigrants. Different progressives focused on different issues. Children, women, African Americans, and immigrants were all at the center of issues progressives were trying to fix with varying degrees of success. Public opinion mattered. The more the public was concerned about an issue, the more likely that issue would be addressed. Most Americans were against child labor, so passing child labor laws was relatively easy. Most Americans wanted to help keep women safe, so many Americans supported temperance and other laws to protect women. There was less concern about helping African Americans and immigrants, so fewer laws were passed to help those groups. Sometimes an event would make a radical impact on public opinion and help get laws and regulations changed. Books like Jacob Riis's How the Other Half Lives or Sinclair's The Jungle did this, but one of the most powerful was not a book, it was a tragedy. The Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire happened in 1911 in New York City. The Triangle Shirtwaist Company was a clothing factory that employed hundreds of workers, mostly women and girls. They made shirtwaists, which is shirts, a job that women and girls could easily do, sewing, using sewing machines, cutting, those sorts of things. During the working hours, at 4:40 p.m. on March 25, 1911, a fire broke out on the 8th floor of the building. Due to poor safety conditions, like cloth scraps around the room that were covered in grease, a lack of fire safety equipment, there were no sprinklers, there was a broken fire escape, and violations of existing laws. The doors were actually locked to keep the workers in, and only 2 exits, not 3 like was required. 146 workers were actually killed in the fire. Most of these, 123, were women, and the youngest was a 14-year-old girl. This event, covered by muckrakers, gained public outrage and support for the workplace reforms. The factory owners were found not guilty for the fire by the New York courts. This meant they had no responsibility to pay damages for the fire. This increased the public outcry and led directly to new safety laws for the workplaces. Again, public opinion mattered. The more support gained for a cause, the more likely change was to occur. Muckrakers and progressives worked together to change problems they found in society. This is the end of Notes 1.10. I hope you learned something from our 5-minute lecture, and I will see you in class with any of your questions.